Hi, I'm Clare Morneau, and I'm the author of Kakuma Girls. I'm here to talk about my experiences with Kakuma Refugee Camp and the refugee girls living there. My talk today is really about the challenges young refugees, particularly girls, face when attempting to get an education in refugee camps, and how we can mobilize youth to be engaged in our efforts to help refugees. So my story actually started out of friendship. A couple of years ago, I started a discussion with a group of girls from my school here in Toronto, Havergal College, and a group of girls who live in one of the most difficult parts of the world. Kakuma Refugee Camp is a place in northern Kenya near the border of South Sudan. A dusty, desolate place where 150,000 refugees live. People who fled from war, famine, and impossibly difficult conditions. A couple of years ago, we started this conversation with girls from the refugee camp who were the lucky ones. The ones who got to go to a special boarding school for girls in the camp. A place where they are protected from rape and war. 40 Toronto girls and 40 Kakuma girls started talking. We sent some letters, we sent some books, we had a few Skype calls. And out of that conversation, I got an idea. Someone needed to tell the stories of these girls who are struggling to get an education in one of the most difficult parts of the world. A place where heavy rainfall can mean floods that sweep away houses, where rape is an everyday fear, where people can go days without food. A place where going to school can be an intensely difficult experience because of the risk of violence on long walks to school, because girls often feel pressure to stay home and do chores, or marry young to support their families. Or because girls simply don't have access to sanitary pads so they don't go to school when they're on their period. But hard enough as it is to believe, a place that is better than where they came from. Their stories needed to be told. So I set about writing a book titled Kakuma Girls to raise awareness among Canadians of the lives of young women in refugee camps. To help young Canadians understand the enormous gulf between our experiences and those of refugee girls in Kakuma Refugee Camp. I really believe that telling stories is a compelling way to help people understand how important it is for those of us here in Canada, living in such a peaceful country, to stand up and be a part of the solution to global refugee issues. Now when I have the opportunity to speak, I always share the stories of a couple of the Kakuma girls. So tonight, I want to tell you some stories. Sarah Nayuk Gik is a South Sudanese refugee. When she was a little girl, her father was killed during a disruption by the Sudanese People's Liberation Movement. Soon after, Sarah watched as her pregnant mother was shot and taken to a hospital by the Kenyan Red Cross. Sarah was left alone in war-torn Sudan and had to fend for herself until one of her neighbors found her. Several months later, Sarah heard news that her mother was miraculously alive in a Kenyan hospital. She traveled to that hospital only to find her mother living there, with no money for food or clothing for her newborn baby. After living in this hospital for 3 months, Sarah and her family were transported to Kakuma Refugee Camp by the UNHCR. Sarah didn't go to school until she was 10 years old. She doesn't have a father, and her mother cannot take care of her because she has disabilities from her gunshot wounds. Somehow, Sarah has made it through all of these challenges and through high school. All she wants is to go to university and to have a life in a peaceful country. She wants to make a life for her mother and her sisters. She really just wants a life of happiness. Lula Madhar is one of the smartest people I have ever met. She was born in Kakuma refugee camp. She knows no life but the life of a refugee. She has no nationality, no country, and no home. Last year, Lula's family got a chance to relocate to the United States. They gave away everything they owned, including their home, to friends in the camp, because they knew that they would have a better life once relocated. But when Lula's family reached Nairobi, one of her brothers was missing a fingerprint, so her whole family was sent back to Kakuma refugee camp. They had to rebuild their entire life. To this day, Lula cries when she hears airplanes. But through all of this, she still wants to be a neurosurgeon. She wants to live in the Canada that she has read about in letters. She wants independence, and she wants to make a better life for her family. By raising awareness and helping some girls get a university education, I hope to inspire more Canadians to be part of our effort to make a real difference in an enormous global challenge, perhaps the defining challenge for our generation. More importantly, I hope to share the message that education will create the leaders of tomorrow. These Kakuma girls have the determination and intense perseverance that it will take to rebuild their lives and their countries. They have unlimited potential, and all they need is the opportunity to unleash it. Thank you.